Hi, everybody. This is the Dr. Debunk weekly podcast show. On this show, I'm going to be debunking the medical myths, garbage, and crap that's spread by doctors and other health professionals. Dr. Debunk is the medical truth teller. Today's podcast, everybody, is going to be titled Supplement Scams Everywhere and Out of Control. Now, what does that mean? I thought I would do a podcast because this has been coming up in my office a lot with patients about taking nutrients and supplements and all the tons of stuff you can buy everywhere. Americans, it's safe to say, have gone supplement crazy. And the idea is that if you can take enough supplements, you can magically retain your health. But there is no magic, and retaining your health is a lot more than taking supplements. And so I have patients that bring in bags of stuff and they plop it on the exam table and say, "What should I take, doc?" And I mean, literally $200-$300 a month. And some of it's pretty bizarre. So in our society, supplements are everywhere and out of control, and the scamming is unbelievable. I have come to believe that the marketing of supplements and the pushing of them is just the most lying industry there ever could be. I would say the people that are doing this are worse than all the politicians put together, because it's a billion-dollar industry, multi-billion-dollar industry. And what's crazy about it is determining supplement success is based on feelings, how you feel, your perceived feeling about the product. And the big issue with that is that people don't realize, that now you're going to realize, is that the placebo effect for humans is very powerful. I've mentioned this in a couple other podcasts, but I observe in medicine anyway, over 33 years, that the placebo effect can have a long-lasting effect, 2-3 months at a time. In other words, if I tell you as a patient, and you believe that I am trustworthy and you like me and I'm your doctor, if I tell you go get beetles, mash them up and squeeze the juice out of them and suck down that juice every day, and that'll make you healthier, people will do it. And you will feel healthier for 2 to 3 months. Even if it's gross and nasty. And that may sound ridiculous, but it's powerful. When you want to believe something is going to work mentally, it can temporarily change the physical body. I've watched it for 33 years. We've studied it in medicine. We do double-blind placebo crossover studies, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. And basically, people are taking a placebo that's supposed to make their joints not hurt, and they don't hurt. And I've seen it last for months and months. And I'll mention that too. Glucosamine and chondroitin is a massively abused nutrient supplement. And so we have a business here that success is being based on ridiculous feelings and not objective outcomes. That is in the process of change, but the problem here is we're talking about delayed effects. We're talking about a perceived outcome, perceived benefit. It's a health principle. Perceived benefit, perceived threat, perceived benefit. So people try to stay healthy because the perceived threat of getting disease is bad, but it's difficult to maintain that because disease is so far away. But we do things for perceived benefit, and that's what supplements are all about. I want a greater level of health. I want to have more motivation, more energy, more strength, more endurance. And if I take these magic supplements, then I'll get it. But are you really getting it or not? And so the problem of delayed effect, which I didn't really explain, is that you're talking about taking hormones, precursors, vitamins, minerals, and nutrients, 5 classes of things we supplement with. We're talking about taking those, but the effects for most of these are measured in months or years. Now, hormones are more immediate, and you can measure those in days and weeks, but most of those are prescription, and that's a different movie, and I've talked about that in other videos or other podcasts. And so there's a dilemma. How do you know the supplement is giving you the effect and it's not some other life factor you've changed? That's been a difficult thing. But we are making progress with that. I mean, doctors have never given 2 cents crap about vitamins, minerals, and supplements. We've dealt with hormones, and we've dealt with them all wrong. Standard medicine's approach to hormone replacement therapies is a dismal failure, which I talk about in other videos. And so we're not the ones that know anything about it. And so the industry's gone mad. It's just mad. So I'm going to try to give you some information about how to do this a little better. But it gets even worse because not only do we not have an objective way to know we're getting a good outcome, there is some objectiveness here though, is that there are 5 different classes of supplements, like I said, hormones, precursors, nutrients, vitamins, and minerals, but then there are thousands of variations, and I mean literally thousands of variations of these things. So let's just talk about vitamins, minerals, and some basic nutrients. I mean, there's like 30 or 31 essential vitamins and minerals. And they're called essential because if you don't have, say, any vitamin C in your diet, in 4 months you'll be dead. You'll die of scurvy. If you don't have any vitamin B1, if you don't have any vitamin D. But vitamin D, fat-soluble vitamins, take a year to kill you, but you would still be dead. So, but there are so many different forms and ways to take them. I mean, literally, there are, and I've done some rough counting, there are 10,000 different products on like one of the big major websites that sells vitamins, minerals, herbs, the over-the-counter hormones. There are 10,000 different products available right now. I mean, how do you sift through all that? And that's the dilemma we're faced with. And then the forms come into play. Should you take tablets, liquid, sublingual, topical? And it's different for each one. And even vitamin C, or say, maybe a better example would be vitamin B3, niacin. Well, you can take niacin or you can take niacinamide, and now they're making because niacinamide is the next step. We take niacin and we turn it into niacinamide, and then 4 steps later it becomes something called NAD, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. And I want you to say that really fast. And so we just call it NAD. But NAD is one of the most important nutrients in the history of nutrient study. And in the last 10 years, there's just a little revolutionary change. But that'll be a different podcast. I will do a complete podcast on NAD. So the vitamin niacin is really front and center stage right now in research, even though we've studied it for 50 years because of these new changes 10 years ago. Well, anyway, so should you take plain niacin or should you take niacinamide? And then there is a downstream form that you can take, and I'm forgetting the name right now, but it's an expensive kind of thing because it's hard to make it, but there's a couple companies making it, and they sell it for like $50 a bottle, and they tell you it's the magic snake oil to give you energy, and they've done some studies on it, and it might help a little, but if you look on these websites, they're very convincing, and they do have some scientific studies, and it probably does work, but with the work I've done in the last 5 years with patients, you can do it for $10 a month with niacinamide and get the same effects. But these companies are making a fortune pushing it on seniors. And so the world is filled with this. And complicating even more, I have to dig this rabbit hole even deeper, is the big, what I call ho-ho companies, because they are hoo-hoo magic and ho-ho this. And there's like a bunch of them out there, and they have names that you might recognize because they sell vitamins, and I don't want to say any of these names because they'll probably want to sue me, because I think they're full of crap is what I think. They say they do studies, but you really can't get the studies out of them. So, and they say they do this extensive work where they mix vitamins and nutrients, which would include herbs, in this magical-like way, in a magical-like form. And my patients bring this stuff into me, and they're paying $300 a month for these hoo-hoo brand vitamin, and like a big new thing is topical. You take pills 3 times a day, and you rub these cream on you, and you take these drinks, and in 2 or 3 months, you'll feel 10 years younger. And you know what patients tell me? Oh, it works. I feel a lot younger. It really works. But then 6 months later, oh, I stopped spending the money. I couldn't afford it, and I couldn't tell if it was working anymore anyway. And I hear this story over and over again. But at first, and the worst of all, is these multi-level marketing companies. Now, this isn't a business discussion, but multi-level marketing companies are scams. They are scams. It is not a legitimate business model. And the supplement business is abused it incredibly. And I won't say any names again because there's some big companies still out there. But they usually get mixed models. They don't stay multi-level marketing. But they are scams because they try to tell you that you will have an endless supply of new recruits that will make you downstream money. And that is a lie. And I'll only harp on this for a minute, but over my 40 years as an adult, I've watched and been a part of a couple of multi-level marketing scams. And the only people that make money are the top 10 people, and everybody else will sign up everyone they can, friends, family, relatives, and coworkers. And then once you've extinguished all the groups of people in your circles that you know who will now hate you, and you've got that going, it will generate a little bit of income, not much, and now you're done because you can't get more new people. And the numbers they tell you, well, you only got to get 2 people and 2 good people, and then those people get 2 good people, and then it just keeps growing. But you can't get 2 good people and then 2 more below them, and then 4, and then 8, and then 16. It doesn't work. It never works. Unless you're like in a business, if you own a gym or something and you have thousands of people that come in and you can hustle them. But most of us can't do that. This is why I'm bringing it up. Because the money and the income is not there, these multi-level marketing nutrient scam companies at first make a really good product. I've seen this multiple times and had firsthand experience with it twice. And then after a while, they dumb down the product and they make junk vitamins, junk nutrients, junk herbs, junk supplements, and keep pushing the stuff. And they just whip people into a frenzy to go get new recruits. Because it's the only way people can keep making money is if you dumb down the product and make it junky. And there is no oversight. You can make the dopiest, nastiest, worthless product full of placebos and fleas and rat poop. You could make rat poop vitamins, and no one can check you. No one. The way these companies are structured, you can't be criminally prosecuted. I can't. It takes too long to explain it. They can all get away with doing whatever they want. Now, people could argue with me about that in business because, the FDA doesn't oversee supplements. They only oversee problems. When people start dropping dead or having obvious illnesses from supplements, or there's enough complaints, then they can take a company to court and shut them down eventually, but it just isn't done. And so you can start your own supplement company and put whatever you want in there. You can sell vitamin C and say it's 100% pure, and it's like 1%, and no one will know. So I observe the MLMs are the worst, so I would stay away from any products that come out of multi-level marketing companies if they are promoted that way, because the product may be good in the beginning, it won't be good in the end. And so anyway, let's get into what you can do about it. because that's just a list of the many problems we're facing with trying to make sense out of how to supplement. Because I believe in supplements. I didn't say that at the beginning. But one of the principles I teach is the older you get, the less food you need to eat, and the more hormones, precursors, nutrients, vitamins, and minerals you need to take, and you'll be healthier. Now, not excessive amounts, not too much. I'm not saying, as much as men who are 60 years old would like to take the testosterone of a 20-year-old, that's not what we do. For physicians that do supplement hormone replacement, and I do a ton of it, we don't do that. There's a way to do it to make you healthy and not ridiculous like some of these crazy-looking weightlifters that are eating essentially rhinoceros testosterone, which will kill them dead. You're going to see in the future the cancer and the dementia and the brain damage and all this crap that's going to happen to these weightlifters and other health athletes that eat massive amounts of growth hormone and testosterone and all the other games they play, which are many. Anyway, but done correctly, it's a great addition to helping us to stay optimally healthy at all decades of life, which is what the goal is. So with that, we're going to take a little break, and I'll be back in a minute. Hi, everybody. Dr. Debunk here, and I bet you think this is going to be a commercial about KSK Cold Spray. But you're wrong, because if you've been listening to my podcast, then you know I've been pushing my spray. But the flu season's over, and so I wanted to mention to you something that some of you know I do, but that is about weight loss and weight maintenance or controlling your weight, the whole subject of weight. I've mentioned it in some of my podcasts, giving little bits of information. But I have been studying weight and helping my patients lose and then maintain weight for 11 years. And this program I've developed with much trial and suffering is now capable of getting 30 to 50 pounds off just about anybody in 3 to 4 months. You heard it right, 30 to 50 pounds, 3 or 4 months. And so what you should do is, just to get some information, so what you should do is go to Dr. Debunk website, that's drdebunk.com. If you haven't been there, there's videos and some information, but I have a little introductory video there about weight, how it works, why we are so fat in America, why it's so difficult. It's about 30 minutes, and if you watch it, you'll get it. You'll get what I do, what I can do for you, and how the program works. So that's it. I'm Dr. Debunk, the medical truth teller. Welcome back. I had just given a little overview of the problems with supplementing. And so now I want to get to the solutions. And unfortunately, the solutions to doing this are inadequate in every ways. And it's just because we don't have really good ways to verify purity, quantity, quality, because it's a privately run thing. Not that I want the government to get into it, because they would make it worse, but in other words, how do you know that your $50 vitamin you buy from some hoo-hoo company that looks real pretty on the internet, how do you know they really put in 100% of the product what they say? How do you know it's free from lead and arsenic and all the other pollutants and chemicals that can be byproducts of the manufacturing process? How do you know it's really organic sources? And that is the dilemma. So there are some testing companies out there. The biggest one is called USP, United Pharmacopoeia, but USP verified means that the product is randomly tested by this company once or twice a year, and then the company can only stick the symbol on their product if it passes. But there's consolidated testing is another one. There's a new player to the block is called UL, Underwriters Laboratory, which was always a kind of electronics and mechanical tester. I mean, you would see on the back of computers and all kinds of electronical stuff, toasters, that it was UL verified. Well, now they're getting into this, and they're going to do random testing too. So if you buy products that have one of these outside laboratory testing symbols on it, that's about the best we can do right now. Because when companies say that, well, we do our own internal testing, we check the veracity and the purity of our products. And I'm like, well, are you a liar or are you a truth teller? Because unfortunately, not to get political, but with the decline of the moral fiber of our society, many businesses believe that if you don't get caught in a lie, it's the same thing as telling the truth. Now, everybody knows that, but we don't want to talk about it. But the truth is, corporations, big and small, can believe that if you're stupid enough to buy a high-priced product that's junk and pay a lot of money for it, well, that's your problem. Don't be stupid. And if you can't catch us in a lie, that's your problem too. And so how do you know? Well, I don't have an answer to that. So this verification is the best we have right now. And then if you want to get into believing, but if you get away from the verification, which you almost have to, then I would say companies that are in the United States are way better off if they make the vitamin, mineral, supplement, herb here. If they say they do these things of purity, because then if they're lying, you could get them for fraud. I am not real keen on name brand products, the bigger companies. I'll leave it at that. So the verification is the best. The next is try to stay away from the really foreign, like products that come out of foreign countries, especially China, India, Pakistan. I mean, really? The Chinese have no quality control whatsoever. That they are open about it in every way. The quality controllers in China is crank out the product, and it doesn't matter what's in there. Crank it out. And I don't care if the Chinese hate me for that, but too bad. I would never put anything in my mouth that came out of China. Not if I knew it. Anyway, so finally, let's get to kind of an approach. So then, how do you approach hormones, precursors, vitamins, minerals, and supplements? I mean, nutrients, other nutrients. I mean, they're all supplements. Well, I do this extensively in another podcast talking about them, but just as a brief reminder, okay, hormones are the most powerful supplements or nutrients that are made by our body that change the course of your body function. Nothing else you buy over the counter, nothing is as potent as hormones. And most of the important ones are prescription, but you can buy melatonin over the counter. You can buy very weak progesterone and plant-based estrogen for women, but that doesn't work. You can, and that's doctor-controlled. But then you have precursors, which are the substances that our hormones are made from, or other important nutrients. So you could, like thyroid is a prescription hormone, but iodine is the main precursor. You can boost thyroid levels by just taking iodine because all Americans are deficient, and that's a whole other story. And how to take iodine is another whole other story. And then you have vitamins and minerals, which are essential nutrients, because if you don't have them, you die. And then you have the huge class, what we just call nutrients, which would include all the herbs, but then substances that our body makes or needs and gets in small amounts from our food, but they're not considered essential. So that would be coenzyme Q10 and NAD, and the list goes on and on. It's a vast field. Nutrients includes all these substances our body makes that are not essential, but there are hundreds and hundreds of them that you can take to supplement. So like niacinamide would be considered a nutrient because it's not niacin, but it's going to become NAD, but you can take NAD directly. Anyway, so how do you approach all that? Well, the big picture is what's called a rotating supplement plan. But we'll get to that at the end. Under 45, supplementing isn't that important. It's really not. Young people, for a number of reasons, don't really benefit much from supplementing. Now, that is starting to not apply to these very young people under 25, maybe even under 30, because the diets of people under 30, my patients, I hear stories, and I'm horrified of how many people live on fast food 3 times a day, 5 days a week. I mean, that's all they eat. Well, you could actually get nutrient deficiencies. You could get deficient in vitamin C doing that. You could have signs of scurvy. I mean, because, fast food is junk. I mean, it's okay for fun, weekend, or whatever. But living on this stuff, I believe we're going to see nutritional deficiencies, obvious deficiencies manifest where we can see low blood levels of vitamins, which we don't see in America. I mean, vitamin D has been an oxymoron. We're seeing these ultra-low vitamin D levels for the last 15 years. It's actually now the most well-studied medical vitamin in the history of medicine. That's another story. But anyway, so above 45, if you just wanted to take a multivitamin, multi-mineral product that had all 30 or 31 vitamins and minerals in there, you could do that. You'd want to get a USP verified one if you could. If you look around, you can find them. And then the other specific thing, which may sound a little different, is how many days a week will you take a tablespoon of flaxseed oil? And what that is omega-3 therapy. And the reason I include that is something that you would do up to 7 days a week. And not the capsules, and not fish oil. You could do fish oil, but do you really want to take 7 fish oil capsules a day? I don't think so, the cost alone. But it's omega-3s, and flaxseed oil, I think, is the best omega-3 there is, because alpha-linolenic acid. That's another story why. But the number one condition that's going to outstrip every major disease, probably within 20 years, it may not be what you would think it is, but dementia is going to become the number one pathological disease that will affect more Americans or more people in modern society than heart disease, cancer, and lung disease combined. It's huge. And one of the 2 greatest ways to prevent it naturally regarding supplements is omega-3 therapy. And I'm not going to get into that. That's another podcast I'll do down the road. But a tablespoon of flaxseed oil would do more to prevent that than any one thing you will do, except for maybe resveratrol therapy, which goes along with it, which I'll talk about, which I've already talked about in another podcast on inflammation. But anyway, it's cheap. It's easy to do. If you did even 2 or 3 tablespoons a week for the rest of your life, you would be far better off for doing that. And then the third thing you can do is specific nutrient replacement therapies for different conditions. And I will just introduce it, but and what I mean by that is if you want to lower your blood pressure naturally, well, I'm your guy. I can tell you what to do. There's a bunch of nutrients I can give you that help lower your blood pressure. But then there's life things you can do too. Chronic inflammation, that's the whole resveratrol thing. If you know how to use it correctly, you can absolutely either get rid of or significantly reduce the aches and pains of aging. It's a therapy that's about 5-6 years old. I've been doing it 5 years. I did a 3-series podcast on it, but I have 700 patients that will never stop taking resveratrol, but including myself because of what it does. And I don't make a resveratrol product. I'm not trying to hustle you. I don't care. I mean, I have recommendations of where to get it, but I don't care if you buy it from a Martian supplement store, as long as it's pure and not a 25% extract or a 50%. Resveratrol is a very popular supplement now because it's scammed extensively. I mean, people go on Amazon and like, oh, I can get this resveratrol way cheaper than what you say, doc. And I'm like, you don't know how to read the label. you're getting a 25% extract of an impure product. So it's like 1/4 as potent. So you're buying junk. Anyway, so from diabetes to blood pressure, there's at least 40 common medical conditions that I treat naturally with my patients. And so and nutrients are a part of all of them. Osteoporosis, you can treat that naturally. There's a way to do it. And eventually, all of these will be on Dr. Debunk channel, but it's going to take me a couple years to get them there. But they will. And so that's another way you can use nutrients. And then you take a lot of nutrients at first for the condition, and then you'll back down and take a long-term replacement dose, which leads to the last thing, what I mentioned was rotating supplements. The future for supplement replacement therapies is clear. It's a rotating pattern. It's you don't take everything all the time. I mean, that's what people have been trying to do. I mean, people that are nutrient lovers or freaks or whatever, but it's a good freak to be. It's good to love nutrients. I'm a nutrient freak, I suppose. But how do you do it? I mean, not the way my little old ladies who come in with bags and bags of this stuff. And it's like, why are you taking that? I don't know. I saw a thing on TV. Or Dr. Oz said it was good, or somebody else. And I'm like, okay. So, like I said, well, I'm 63. I take a bunch of stuff now. But by the time I'm 70, I will take a handful of supplements every day. But you rotate through. So, like vitamin D, because we've so well studied it now. That's a vitamin. How do you take it? Well, everybody, in my opinion, now should take 2 days a month or 2 days every other week of high-dose vitamin C therapy for the rest of their life. Now, this is people over 45, or we're finding young women especially that have low vitamin D levels. If you get a low blood level, it means you're severely deficient, then you've got to start the therapy sooner. We still don't understand it, but we understand the consequences. Like vitamin D now, just a little side thing here. Some review studies have come out this year that may explain why vitamin D does stuff to the heart and our blood vessels that we never understood. And the implications are that vitamin D is involved in regrowing our blood vessels. And so everybody knows that vitamin D has to do with your bones, and it keeps you to have strong bones. And that's why you got to take it along with calcium and, well, really 4 other substances should go along with it. But anyway, nutrients. But this research, if the conclusion is correct, and I think it is, it explains why vitamin D low levels are giving us these weird heart symptoms and numerous chronic pain, nervous system disorders. Basically, vitamin D is going to be implicated in the future, vitamin D deficiency in dementia. And the blood vessel connection is why. So there's no question that, to me, everybody over 45 or 50 should take it at least 2 days a month or more. But you don't have to take it every day because it's a fat-soluble vitamin. You take it 2 days in a row, high dose. It stays in your blood for a week. I mean, you get a high level. It gets tissue penetration. And anyway, all these nutrients are like this in different ways. And so another thing I'll be doing is Dr. Debunk, because we have enough data now collected over the decades of basic supplements and vitamins and minerals to know how to do this, to know how to do a rotating plan. I mean, I have a vitamin calendar for my patients that I did a few years ago, but it's not practical. It's so intense. I found that only the most committed would do it. So I'm retooling it into a way that everybody could do it. And you could take multivitamin minerals, many of them individually, for $12, $13 a month. And you could take them, then this methodology will give proven results based on scientific studies. So that's coming, which, sorry, I don't have the super duper answer right now. But honestly, if you wanted to keep it really simple, take a multivitamin mineral, and every day you can stand it, take a tablespoon of flaxseed oil. Just suck it down. It's not It's not bad. It doesn't taste like fish oil. It's just greasy, so you hide it with a hot drink. You just have a hot drink, put the tablespoon in your mouth, and gulp, gulp, gulp down the drink, and you wash it down. It doesn't have. It's just oily. But omega-3 therapy is currently going to be one of the most specific body-changing therapies we can do. I mean, it's the basis of fish oil, but that research, the value of it is old as far as where it goes. It's fully matured now, and it's just too expensive. And then there's other issues like how much mercury's in the fish and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so that's pretty much it. So just as a review, at a minimal, you take a multivitamin mineral starting over 45-ish. Below that, the evidence doesn't really show it's much good, but that's going to change because our diets are so atrocious. Even sometimes for people over 35, I'm amazed at patients that come in and I'm like, what? You're still doing what? Did you ever think that's why you feel like crap all the time because of what you're eating? Anyway, and then specific nutrient conditions will be coming. There's some on there already, like for inflammation, vitamin D. I don't remember what I've done, but on the podcast, on Dr. Debunk channel, you can get this stuff. You need to listen to it. And then rotating supplements in the end, long term, becomes more and more important with age. So why are we doing this? So that I can retard the aging process as much as possible, slow it down, and prevent the formation of disease at what I believe is a 90% success rate, and promote maximum motivation, energy, endurance, and strength at all decades of life, which is my calling card. I'm Dr. Debunk, debunking medical myths, garbage, and crap spread by doctors and other health professionals. Thanks for listening.